when you don't have those kind of restrictions, basic instinct is essentially to go nuts. Welcome back to LARP 101. Let's get straight in with this week's question. What kind of things would you need for a player event, specifically a ball, and what should you expect? What's different from normal events? I love balls. They are some of the best events going on at the moment. I think there's no other way to describe it other than balls are in. Literally, balls are some of the most fashionable LARP events that could possibly be going right now. I literally cannot move on Instagram or TikTok without getting an advert for another company doing a Fey ball. And the thing is that despite them being coming at me from everywhere, I'm not sick of it. And I think pretty much everybody else I know who is into, fairies and mystery and romances are all like, yeah, let's go to the Fey balls. And the thing is, Fey balls are not the only kind of ballroom games that are going on at the moment, especially over the winter period. Essentially, social games are a lot more prevalent than they are during the summer months, mainly because during the summer you can get outside and you can get fighting, and that's when, those kind of games have their highest level of competition with each other. But once those have settled down and everything starts to get cooler and darker and it's just a bit trickier to get outside and do your fighty thing, lots of people want to chill indoors, have a dance, listen to music and eat some good food. It's a very, very popular type of event. So when it comes to ball events, I have 3 things that you should do for every single one of the things you go to. So number 1, as always, do your research. Not every ball is like the other one. There are different rules, there are different social customs, there are different settings. Every aspect of the game you go to could be completely different from the last game you went to. And it's really important that you know the difference, because if you don't, you're probably not going to get as much out of it as you possibly could. So, start by looking at the theme. What is the genre of the game? A lot of these are fantasy at the moment. A lot of them are around Fey at the moment, but that doesn't mean every single one that you go to is going to be based on that. So make sure you know what's going on. You should know the genre, you should know what the in-game universe is like, and you should know where the game is going to be set, because all of these things are going to influence how you want to interact with the game. You should also make yourself familiar with any and all rules that are available to you for this game. Rules may seem like an odd thing to have at a ballroom game, but again, you don't know what kind of scenario you're going to be walking into. And even games which are essentially have no plot will likely still have rules of some kind, mostly around conduct. So make sure you're familiar with them. Are there a lot of rules? Is it quite rules heavy? Is it really rules light and everything's really flexible? Is there a possibility that combat could occur? That does happen, believe it or not. Sword fighting duels, they happen at balls all the time, apparently. So why wouldn't that occur? And if they are, what's the rules from it? Because that could be really, really different. Is there a possibility of some form of PvP? Is there a risk your character is going to get assassinated around the corner from the ballroom? You need to know. Because you need to know what you're going to be walking into, and you need to know how to prepare. Not necessarily icy, but also out of character. What happens if your character dies at a ball? Do you get to come in as another one? What is the expected decorum for that? You need to know. And also you want to make sure that you have a character that is going to be appropriate for the setting. Take it from somebody who knows, having a really weak character for a ballroom game can surprisingly make the game a bit meh. And that's no fault of the organisers, that's down to you. So are you having a pre-written character written for you that's being provided? Are you having to make up a character from scratch? If you are making up a character from scratch, you need to know what kind of character is going to help you get the most out of your game. So you need to know all of that stuff, the rules, the setting, the theme, all of it, to make sure that you have a character built, ready and waiting to make sure that your game is the best game that you could possibly end up in. Number 2, plan your time carefully. Now, it's very possible that you already know exactly what's going to happen at this ball because you're planning on going in with no real plans, socialising with your mates and generally having a decent time. And that is a perfect way to go and have fun at these games. I think that's great. If you just want to chill, not really interact with much, and just essentially have a laugh with your friends, do a bit of dancing and have some good food. Good on you. And I think you will have a magnificent time. I rarely have gone to one of these events and gone, I didn't enjoy being with my friends. But if you do want to get involved and, get some plot going, see what's going on with some of the other attendees, then you will need to plan your time, because the funny thing about balls is they tend to only last for one night. Now, don't get me wrong, they may be part of a larger game that happens over years, but either way, you have only got a certain number of hours to achieve everything you want to do before that night is gone forever. So make sure you have a plan before you go. It does not need to be anything overly complicated. You don't need to physically write down a list and have, check things off as you go. Though, if that does help you, I would recommend it, because my brain needs structure. Your brain may need structure too. The important thing is that you essentially know what you want to achieve, and even better, how you think you can achieve it. If you want to, let's say, go and talk to the king and queen about giving you a castle, you need to make sure that you set some time aside to try and go and have a chat with them. When that time will be, we'll have to probably be flexible because you're competing with everybody else's time at this event, but make sure that you at least know that that is something you need to do, and that you need to go and speak to them and have some time with them to go and try and convince them that giving you that castle is well worth their time. Just for an example, when I went to the Wild Hunt, I was playing a French revolutionary who was desperate to escape the Wild Hunt to essentially return back to a mortal life. And my aim was to find some way to do that. I didn't know how I could do that. I figured I could probably try and convince the gods that overruled the Wild Hunt to let me go, but I had no idea how. So as the game went on, my goal was to essentially find a way. Not necessarily succeed, though that would be great, but essentially have an idea of what method would be the way to go to give my character a step in a direction that would ultimately allow her to achieve her goal. And she did find something. It wasn't a brilliant solution, it was in fact a temporary one, but it did give her just a sliver of hope. And that was great, because by the end of the evening I felt like I had really achieved something. And even better, it turns out we're now having a sequel to that event, which I am going to later this year, and I'm going to see if I can push that further and see if I can get my character out of the Wild Hunt before weekend's end. One can only hope. I'm pretty sure I'm going to die horribly, but it's a goal. Wish me luck. And lastly, number 3, and this is the one that everybody loves. Make sure you have an amazing costume. Now, it's a one-night event, and naturally my first instinct would be to say, don't bother spending too much on your costume, because at the end of the day you're never going to wear it again. But that's not who LARPers are, and it's not who I am, to be honest. When you're going to a single night event, which means, you're not going to have to make sure that your costume is warm and cozy and that it can be washed in the machine and it's not going to get damaged because, you've got to wear it for years and years, you want to get your worth out of it. When you don't have those kind of restrictions, basic instinct is essentially to go nuts. You want to have the craziest makeup and as much glitter as possible on you and essentially look like you have walked out of the night and into a realm of starlight for all of the mortals to see and worship you. And this was the idea I had for my costume for the Goblin Ball, and epic failed because, again, I didn't prep properly and that was my fault. So trust me, as somebody who went to one of these balls in a costume that looked okay, don't get me wrong, I looked nice, but going into that room and just seeing some of those costumes that other people were wearing, I felt so boring and so drab, and I really didn't feel good about myself because everybody else had put so much glorious effort into their costumes and looked incredible, and I just wasn't quite there because I didn't prep myself properly, and it was sad. Seriously, some of those costumes were amazing. In fact, everybody at this place looked amazing other than me. Not a single person looked like I always talk about costumes of the best way to get other people to dress well at LARPs is to dress well at LARPs yourself, because they always look at you and go, I want to look like you. Yeah, that was me. I was looking at everybody going, I want to look like all of you. And I didn't. So take it from somebody who let herself down at a ball. Take the opportunity to look incredible. So if you want to go for that massive cloak with sequins all over it and giant feathery wings and this glorious makeup that makes it look like you've walked out of the pits of hell yourself, do it. Do it. You will feel so much better for yourself afterwards. Looking at the pictures of the event afterwards will bring glee and joy to your heart. Do it. I would still recommend that to the best you can, make sure your costume is still at least comfortable, because you are going to have to sit in it and possibly move in it, and you don't want to be sat in some scratchy kind of itchy fabric all night. So try and best to make sure that it is comfortable, but if it's not, worst comes to very worst, it's only for one night and you probably don't have to wear it again. So if you want to sacrifice that little bit of comfort for that little bit of extra glamour, no judgment from me. I completely get it. I would recommend sensible footwear though, because blisters hurt and blisters will ruin your night. If you want to be dancing or walking around looking amazing, you don't want blisters. So if you are going to compromise your costume anywhere, footwear. Compromise it with the footwear. There are so many fables at the moment. It is a crime that I can't go to them. I need you guys to all go to these fables for me. So if you have any pictures of you guys at fables and you're willing to share, please tag me in them on Instagram or post them to my Facebook page, because I am desperate to see more LARPers having fun. So yeah, if you're not following me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter and TikTok, because I'm there as well, do so, because I want to see more of your stuff to see how incredible all of you guys are. Thank you very much for watching. LARP 101 should be back next week. I hope you're having a wonderful time. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I will see you on a battlefield soon.